Gee, I didn't have anything afternoon tea. No wonder I'm hungry. I need to lay off the shortbread. Okay, what was I? What was more entitled? Yes, my dear, I am. You're not getting a bite.
I thought the summer was going to be like all the.
Welcome to r/entitled parents, where a spoiled woman screws herself out of a huge inheritance. Our next Reddit post is from La 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 Not Listening. I'm an intensive care unit registered nurse. A few nights ago, I was working our burn ward where this happened. Typically, pre-COVID, we allowed 3 visitors per patient between the hours of 8
Why,
a.m.
my dear? Scared of my germs?
COVID, all visitors were restricted. All units, no exceptions. Now that things are lightening up, we're starting to allow visitors again under certain conditions. 1 visitor per patient at a time, 18 and up only. Everyone will be screened and need to wear N95 masks. Pretty reasonable. 2, entitled mother. I'm taking care of her husband who was grilling when the propane tank exploded. He's completely burned up, but nowhere near life-threatening. He's awake, alert, talking, eating, etc. I get a call from this lady positively screeching.
Am I? You don't bite, you steal!
Come visit her dying husband, and then I better tell her.
People are listening. Damn you.
To find out that it's because she has care of her husband who was grilling when the propane tank exploded. He's pretty burned up, but nowhere near life-threatening. He's awake, alert, talking, eating, etc. Not on death's door by any means. I get a call from this lady positively screeching that she's downstairs in some B-word.
Can't you spell one, Puddin'? No, Harley, I can't spell one.
Words in, I come to find out that it's because she has children with her. I explain our policy, and she loses it. Incoherent words are screamed at me. I hung up. I giggle to myself that I'm so glad she's downstairs.
I'd rather give you one, my dear, than her.
Right now. Well,
who's this other person you're talking about?
Woman escorted by security alone, raging about how we need to let our kids up to see their dad because they haven't seen him in 3 days. She asked for the charge nurse after I tell her policy is policy. So she's yelling at my charge for a solid 10 minutes.
Kids Wonders going a live stream. Welcome to the chat.
You can hear her yelling.
I posted some.
He apologizes for her. We chat.
I posted some new stuff to TikTok, by the way.
He tells me they're boys, 3 and 6 years old. The lady is still with my charge nurse. It's been about 15 to 20 minutes that she's been in the unit now, and she hasn't come to see her dying husband yet. My patient then said, "Wait, the kids aren't alone in the waiting room, are they?" Welcome to r/entitled parents, where an entitled.
Been a while since I've watched some of these.
For clarity, at my wedding, we had 2 cakes. The pretty little wedding cake and then sheet cake for everyone else to eat. This is from a couple of years back, but will always stick with me. It was our wedding day. Nothing fancy, which was perfect, and everything was going smoothly. I looked gorgeous in my dress. My new hubby looked for maybe 10 minutes, then came back over for the cake. My best friend, who works as a head pastry chef at a nice restaurant, made it for us. A 1-tier red velvet and buttercream dream. We get back, and the entire cake is gone. I can't believe it. I look around and see entitled mother sitting at a table with her 6, yes, 6 kids, each with giant pieces of cake. And I mean giant. The entire cake split into 7 pieces for her and the kids, and they're all wolfing.
That wasn't their cake.
Hey,
How dare
the cake? You, hubby, and I haven't even had it yet. Yes, we did. I saw you cut the cake earlier. Well, yes, we cut it. But didn't you notice none was missing? We had to go take a couple more photos before the sun went down, and we didn't even get to try it yet. Look, my kids were hungry, and they're not eating whatever.
Harley, stop giving me that look. Gosh, you're just like the bloody hyenas.
Wedding present that's on the table on the other side of everyone. I am trying to be patient and not cause a scene at my own wedding. Look, I get that, but you probably should have brought them snacks if you didn't want them eating the food here. Now I don't get to have that memory with my new husband. Didn't it occur to you to ask when everyone else was getting food from over there? Whatever. That's not really
Here,
what this day is all about.
You can have this piece.
Honestly, you should be grateful that we came in.
Puddin', that's hardly anything. That's just a crumb.
6 kids out the door.
God, you're so ungrateful.
Things like this. At this point, new husband has overheard what's happening and comes over to jump in. But not only has he heard, so
Giving Joker the I want food kind of look. The one that dogs give their owners when they're having dinner.
My sister and my best friend. Imagine two ridicule. Neither's over.
Oops, it's the last one.
are now flying over. Entitled Mother is now looking horrified as all of them are in her face yelling. She turns absolutely beet red before huffing. See if I ever come to one of you people's weddings again. You people. Sigh. Entitled Mother tries to simultaneously grab all 6 kids at the same time to get them to her.
Harley, did you just take the last
She grabbed
piece?
a slice of the sheet cake
No.
and threw it at the Entitled Mother. Hitting
Doesn't
her in
look
the
like I
back of
was
the head
born
with
yesterday.
Entitled Mother stomped away. Is it bad that
I can see you chewing on something.
Entitled Mother awkwardly leaning as far forward as she could on the drive home?
Hand it over.
Let frosting drip down the back of her head. Anyway, we haven't heard from
Without the drool.
I did get a text about a week later from our oldest kid.
Mom, you should have given me one, Puddin'.
On my wedding cake.
Oh,
The rest of
disgusting.
the
I can't eat this.
What I want to know is, did your photographer get a picture of your friend throwing cake at that Entitled Mother's head? Because if so, that's definitely the picture
Just
I would
take
have.
it down my sight.
Our next Reddit post is from Uru Patty. My sister
Thank
was in
you.
this relationship for 6
About time.
Unfortunately, like many women that went through the same thing, she was manipulated by her ex-boyfriend and didn't have enough self.
Families can save up to $2,400 a
self-esteem to stop the abuse. She didn't think it was abuse.
This
Things got
is cheating on me.
Unfortunately, the marriage ended last week, and now she's in much better shape moving towards a better life. My sister reunited the family to tell us about it. This is when the entitlement took place. My sister said, "Everyone, I have important news. I broke up with my ex-husband." My entitled dad says, "What? Why? What happened?" My sister proceeds to tell the story of a 6-year abusive relationship with a lot of verbal and even physical abuse. Well, okay, but what about me? What do you mean, Dad? Well, you still have to give me a grandson. You're 33 years old, and you won't be able to bear healthy children much longer. Dad, how can you say something like that to me? I've been through hell and back, and all you can think about is your grandchild that doesn't even exist? Yes, I gave you life, a proper education, house, food, everything you wanted. The least you can give us is a grandchild. My entitled mom says, "Yeah, I agree. We're very impatient."
Well, you're now gonna get a grandchild.
Mother is completely wrong and an idiot. Over a year ago.
Right.
Hey, however, for around 4'9", I'm off. I spent most of my savings on my.
No! Oh, the nerve. Give my son your games?
And they can get adult videos on the internet, Dex and PS4, along with some games. Roughly, spend more money there than I have ever before. I was there for about an hour or two having conversations with three people, one employee, my friend, and the manager. After a while, I was talking with the employee about specifications between the consoles and the differences between the versions of the PS4, and the manager stepped out for lunch. A short time later, entitled parent and entitled kid walked in and rushed to the Switch section. While I was searching through the games, the employee went to ask them if they needed help finding anything. She asked some questions, but I tuned them out while me and my friend talked about certain games. About 20 minutes later, I knew what I was getting. The employee was getting everything together. A PS4 Pro, 2 controllers, PSVR, and 5 games. An Xbox One X, an Elite controller, an
12.
Astro headset, and 4 games. My friend was talking about a game he wanted, and I said I'd get it for him as a favor for helping me out a few months ago. He thanked me, and that was it. Almost. The entitled parent and entitled kid saw what was going on and heard me, and they came right over. And the entitled parent asked if I would help her and her children and buy them a game. I said no thank you. She was looking at me like I was crazy and said, "You're buying him what he wants. Why don't you buy my kid something?" I told her that he's my friend and I'm giving him something back after yelling
Seriously?
out. She looked at everything on the counter and said, "How old are you? You're too old to be playing all those games. You don't need them. You should give them to my kids." I said my age is
Are there
irrelevant.
seriously women like
People
that on this
under age
earth?
can play video games, and your children are too young to play the games I'm buying.
Seriously.
They're rated M for mature, and I'm not going to buy your children things they
And besides, it's nothing to do with him. They're not his kids. Why should he have to bloody buy them something?
need. She then tells her kids to beg for the video games, and I quickly turn to her and tell her that you're not a responsible adult and parent by teaching your kids to beg for free stuff. She continues to tell her kids as I'm talking to my friend. Suddenly, I'm grabbed by 2 children pulling on me and jumping, begging me to get them something. I gently take their arms off of me and keep them away, and the kids begin crying, and the mother said, "You just touched my children, you pervert. I'm calling the police." A minute before she calls
Oh,
the police,
please,
the
he
manager
just pulled
comes
the
back and
children
sees
off
me
him.
grabbing the kids and pushing them away and tells me to let go of those kids. I told him the whole story, but he wasn't believing it. He only saw a fragment of the confrontation. The
Unbelievable.
manager talks to the woman, and she completely lies about what happened. She said that I tried to bribe her to touch her kids while nobody was looking, and to even attempt to bribe her with the games I was buying. I was laughing at the conversation that was being said, and I said, "Surely you can't believe this." He was already on the phone with the
But
cop.
he's
The boy
innocent!
was in the back of the building during all of this, and I thought I was screwed because I've seen issues like this and worse because people automatically go with the woman's story. I may be wrong in some implications.
Harley, you
but
want
it's
Joker,
very
you can have him, as I'm not
common for
interested.
women over anything. 10 minutes later, the cops arrive, and
My pudding is mine to be with!
her story first.
Get off,
The
Harley!
same story to the cops, and the manager tells the same, and the cops look at me, and one of them puts me in handcuffs without hearing my side. I'm totally freaking out by how this has come down onto me being the bad guy based on a lie. I finally get to tell them my side of the story, and even my friend backs me up. But I was told her story is more believable than mine, and I said, "You'll believe her without proof?" They have security cameras in every corner of the building. Look at the footage.
Look at the
you'll see
fucking
for yourself.
security cameras, you
The look
freaking
on her
idiots!
face was life-shattering. She tried to say that she wasn't going to press charges, but they wanted to keep her here. The manager and one of the officers go look at the surveillance video and soon come out and take the
Oh,
cuffs
thank
off of me,
goodness.
and they apologized. They asked her why she attempted to lie to them and ruin my life and reputation, and she replied with, "He's too old to be playing those games. He should give them to me and my kids." They asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said no, but I don't want her to get a slap on the wrist for this. They talked to her outside, and after identifying her, they found that she had a warrant for her arrest for something else. I was just flabbergasted over the whole situation. The manager tried to apologize for how he reacted to the situation, and I just told him I wanted a copy of the footage. He asked why, and I said ask the cops because I'll be making a complaint on how you presented yourself. A few moments later, I get a copy and go home, and didn't even want the games anymore. A few days later, I found out the store was closed down, awaiting new staff members. I may have caused an issue with the retail manager, but he should have handled the situation more professionally.
Yeah, instead of believing the lying Karen.
Calling the police. If he'd done that, then that woman wouldn't have gotten arrested and he wouldn't have been fired. I mainly feel bad for the children involved in this.
Pudding,
They're
get off that woman!
crazy.
Why aren't you doing that to me?
Lying is the only way to get what you want in life. OP, I can't believe you didn't want to press charges. If some woman tried to tell the police that I'm a pedophile, then game on, lady. Our next Reddit post is from Carsey. So I'm a daycare worker and I get a lot of babysitting gigs. I babysit this one sweet little boy. For some backstory, his mother lives with another mom.
You ringmaster of a circus.
The grandma watches them. One of her children is so bad that he got kicked out of our daycare program at school. The other is in 6th grade and keeps to herself. Normally, when I watch The Good Kid, the mom pays me $25 a day, which isn't much, but she's well-behaved and easy, so I don't mind. But one day, the other mother left her 2 kids at the house. We had previously discussed me watching her kids as well for the same price, but she ended up saying I was asking too much. I really don't think $3 an hour is an absurd amount, but whatever. The good kid and the bad kid don't get along at all. It's lots of constant fighting, screaming, crying, hitting, and it's hard to control at times. The mom of the 2 kids texts me and says she'll pay me if I take the kids to the park, and I say okay. The children were fighting per usual, and I suggested they play Minecraft, and they agreed. They were playing nicely, and everything was going well, and I asked them if they wanted to go to the park soon. They said in a little bit, and I was fine with that since I finally got them to calm down. The mother of the 2 children texted me and said she was on her way home and asked if I took them to the park. I told her they weren't ready to go yet and that they were playing video games now. This woman told me exactly this. You know that means I'm not paying you, right? Why would I pay you for my kids to stay at my house? Maybe because your child is a demon? I know we'd agreed for me to take them to the park for payment, but I had spent 8 hours there taking care of her children. I cooked for them, broke up all the fights, and had to deal with my eardrums basically bleeding the whole time from crying and screaming. I was exhausted. I still got paid $25 from the mom of the good child, and she apologized for me having to deal with the horrible one. But it makes me upset thinking about it to this day. OP, I need to raise your standards a little bit. $3 an hour for babysitting was a good rate in like 1980. Our next Reddit post is from Free the P. I work at a childcare facility, and we're open from 8:30 to 4:30.
Oh,
We have
Lord,
strict rules about these times.
What?
4:30 is
What?
supposed to be the last possible time you can pick up your child, not the time you start showing up. We have a policy to charge for every 15 minutes past 4:30, but we tend to be nice and not to do that if it's a one-time
You're a
thing.
stone-cold-hearted, lanky twig as you're
We have a
slim as a
child
twig.
mother who's
Your love
late
means nothing,
for a
joking, you
lot.
manipulating
This
son of a
year, he's had
bitch.
to pay late fees over a dozen times and always fight parents. That means told in time with them. Latest. Apparently, she laughs it off. Christmas shopping.
You shouldn't laugh it off.
Hard in their luck and
Oh, bloody adverts.
they deny it. They blame their adult son, who doesn't were a large part of the household. One night, after we had access, unfortunately from something other than shrimp while I was
Ooh. Now, where's that one I'm searching for? Let's see. Entitled Karen. Joker's love is one-sided. Which one was it? Maybe it was Karma Crow? Oh, it's the same woman. If only I remembered. was one of those nights. It must be Karma Crow. Try Karma Crow. That's where they sees Jokinera, but she sees chocolates. But Lisa bats them onto the dirty floor. That's where they belong. Mhm. Wonder where it is. What a waste. I got a hunter hospitalized for poaching on my land. Big mistake. Love is not real to you, Joker. It's all fake. That's not true, my dear. What gave you that idea in the first place? It was 9:29. 9:29. The sun was going down. There was music all around, but that's alright. It was one of those nights. Well, there's nothing, it's not turning. As that lands near Harley. Oh no! Oh! The ones with the animals are always interesting. I'm gonna watch this.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. Hope you're all doing awesome. Another day, another dose of Karen, so I hope you're all ready for this. And let's begin. Entitled People during a bushfire. This happened back in December 2019 to January 20. The bar tab, third guy, had finished his shift, and one of the girls had. This drunk guy stumbles into a room, only to get pepper
You have that
sprayed
ring. I won't be
repeatedly.
wearing it.
Delirious and drunk, he slips and falls on the puke in the foyer of the room.
Pudding, can we get this ring? No, Harley. It's not for you. It's for me and it's for Lisa.
That night,
What do you mean?
Never saw him again after that.
I'm breaking up with you.
And on
Come
the
again?
coworkers,
I'm dumping you.
I had 2 guests check in. Then
Mr.
proceeded
J.
to charge over $25.
Oh, if I hear that voice one more time, I'm gonna rip my ears out.
2 guests check in at around 12:30 a.m. The guests appeared as if though they were destroyed animals, had also made a similar complaint about the same guests who have now radioed for help and asked the man for the meerkat enclosure. Bloke's kid is in the enclosure. Please remove your child from the enclosure. I used to be a zookeeper and I saw some awful parents in the zoo. Here are a couple of examples. Example 1. Bloke is leaning over a wall that drops down to the meerkat enclosure. Bloke's kid is in the enclosure screaming because a meerkat had bitten him and had drawn blood. He's laughing and filming it. Poor intern that I was, radioed for help and asked the man to take his child out of the enclosure. Nope. You can't tell me what to do. I pay your wages. The manager
Don't you
up
dare
and
hit
takes
me.
him out after the kid receives first aid, and the mom was told to take the kid to the hospital. The mom was so apologetic. Example 2. I was doing a leopard talk with our old and fairly grumpy leopard. Basically, I'd give the leopard a couple of chicks and talk about his personal history and leopard conservation. We'd do his proper feed after the public had left so he could eat in peace. This lady was banging on
What's
about how
this one?
zoos were cruel and we were all bad people. She paid the entry fee. She had the small child with her, maybe 6. This conversation ensued. Mummy, are leopards friendly? Of course, baby. You can stroke this one. And I say, oh, I'm sorry. You can't stroke the leopard. He isn't friendly. I couldn't think of a polite way of saying, you're an idiot. Well, you should train
It's a
him.
wild animal, you
Go on and
stupid!
You can't stroke him, I said. I'm going to leave a bad review. Okay. You'll regret this. Okay. She storms off, child in tow. About an hour later, probably about half an hour before we close, I am radioed to the front desk. First aid. This lady got her kid to stroke the leopard. The leopard scratched the child. The child was really lucky. It looked like just a cat scratch. I think he just caught her. She had to get her child over a 6.5-foot safety barrier and get her to walk another 8 feet to the enclosure. There was no way to get to the leopard unless he wanted to walk through another empty enclosure due to flooding. The lady screams at me whilst I'm patching up her child that I should have warned her. The child was so apologetic because she was worried that she had upset the leopard. She backed me up to my boss. The lady leaves with her child.
Wait, what?
The child was no way to get. I think he just caught her. She had to get her child over a 6.5-foot safety barrier and get her to walk another 8 feet to the enclosure. There was no way to get to the leopard unless you wanted to walk through another empty enclosure due to flooding. The lady screams at me whilst I'm patching up her child that I should have warned her. The child was so apologetic because she was worried that she had upset the leopard. She backed me up to my boss. The lady leaves with her child after we called them a taxi to run them to the hospital that I ended up paying for because the entitled mother to risk this kid, and then get pissed when the peacock went for him. He wanted free entry. My boss just pointed to the sign saying, please do not touch the peacock and peahens. My boss was an absolute legend. This next post is another incident of someone we read about in a previous episode, where she bought an apartment. Entitled neighbor throws a party. Behind this building didn't really keep privacy.
I won't wear that scruffy cheap piece of tin, Joker. It looks tacky. What do you mean, my dear? It's just a perfectly ordinary ring. Why won't you wear it? You can't smoke in a smoking room? What? They think my farm's a petting zoo and jump the fence? Fuck. Oh, my lord! What? Hello, grief. Tacky. Rings are not my style, Joker. What's in this one? Oh, Lord. I might read this. Oh, man. What is the one I'm trying to find? Mm-hmm. What? Why would you be reported for robbing your own house? Oh, my lord. Karen teacher attacks. I think I remember this one. Well wishes. Lisa refuses Joker to put it on as she's making it difficult. You're making this difficult for me, my dear. Just put it on and get it over with.
Slash entitled people, where a school teacher attacks a student all because he defended himself against her kid that was bullying him. So if you haven't yet, subscribe for more. The waiting room while my daughter has her appointment. I've been having a
Hang
problem.
on, maybe it's this.
Welcome to r/I don't work here lady, where an entitled Karen gets slapped. Our next Reddit post is from Vagrant. This was years ago. My husband was in the Army on his second enlistment, 5 or 6 years total at this point. He'd already been through a couple of deployments by this point. We were at a new base overseas, and I'd gotten a job at the after-school care facility on post. Well, his unit was getting ready to deploy for 6 months, so they were in the thick of all that. The chaplain was having a pre-deployment meeting for all the spouses to talk about the changes to expect while our spouses are deployed, from practical issues to emotional stuff to disruptions in routine. Bear in mind, this was back when if you were really lucky, you maybe got a 10-minute call from your spouse once a month.
Oh
Maybe an
no.
email as well. Letters were still more common than anything. Now, both my husband and I are pretty easygoing, and we've both
Steve
been through a
Easton's the
couple
dream
deployments,
couple.
so
Back
I
off,
already
Joker.
knew the
Stop
drill, what
sitting
to
near
expect,
me.
how to manage, etc. So I decided not to bother with the meeting. Now, don't get me wrong. This is, for those who don't know, a second husband. I could tell he was in everyone on base, if they weren't military, was the spouse of one. Dude, I told him to take me to the building where the second lieutenant was. He knew what I was up to and happily complied. I arrived at the lieutenant's office, knocked, and went in while my husband stood in the hall. I asked him why he'd ordered my husband to fetch me from my job that I was needed at. He rather pompously mansplained to me that this was a required function. My voice, much. And while he may
Yeah,
be
this is
able
not
to
the
order my
story I'm
husband
really interested
deployments
in.
than you spent in the I'm going back to my job. And if I hear that you tried to make his life miserable because of it, so help me. I will go up your chain of command and make sure you regret it. Now, the building wasn't full, but it wasn't quite empty either. Oh, and the higher-ups were in their offices pretty close by. They were super cool cats. My husband might have been enlisted, but they respected the work he did and he respected them. And this lieutenant had been getting on their nerves as well. So, yeah, they absolutely could hear what was going on, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. By the end of my tirade, the second lieutenant was nearly falling over himself to apologize. Sorry, ma'am. I apologize, ma'am. It won't happen again, ma'am. He knew he was in the wrong, and by this point, he also knew I'd make a right royal stink if he tried to make me do anything, or tried to punish
Stranger
my husband for
Senior.
my actions, or lack thereof. I left and my husband took me back to my job, grinning like a fool. I was still pretty enraged at this point, but was cooling off pretty rapidly. For a few weeks afterwards, I actually was concerned that there might be fallout from my husband because of what I did, but there wasn't. At least no more than the usual BS he dealt with on a daily basis. It was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Like I said, I'm pretty laid back normally, but I'll get steamed on other people's behalf. The problem is that I almost never have the opportunity or the right to get involved. And I recognize that sometimes doing so would definitely make bad worse. So having this opportunity was just golden. Our next Reddit post is from Bad Karma. This happened a few years ago. My friend and I decided to hit up GameStop to see if there was anything worth buying. I just happened to be wearing a polo shirt and had a lanyard with an
I
ID around
am
my
not
neck
a
because I
singer.
just left the office.
What
This
gave you
kid
that
came to
idea,
the
my
Xbox
dear?
section and asked me if a certain game is available for PS3. He must have been about 12, and me, knowing a fair bit about video games, I happen to know that, yes, this title was available on multiple consoles. Get it for me. And while we're making our way through the child, walk his fat butt over to a shelf. Boy, the kid and I are cracking the up here. In the midst of me on the verge of tears from laughing, this lady losing her cool, and my buddy goading this woman on further, and screwing with a GameStop employee asking me job. How I used the manager looks at me, looks back at the lady, at me, back at the lady on his employee discount. I live in England, and over here, we have a certain big supermarket store with a burgundy/orange themed uniform. So after finally getting through the queue into the store, I grabbed a cart and I was off. I was there for maybe 20 minutes when I rounded the condiments aisle and
I want your
caught one.
manager's manager.
First, there was a woman, younger looking. Next, she had to have been trying to get her attention before, and that was pretty much the arm and pull me around to face her. Being conscious of social norms about public exposure, I made it into a stall and locked the door for privacy. That didn't stop her from knocking on the door and threatening to get me fired before she heard the really solid stream hit the water and, I'm convinced, realized for the first time what it was she had done. I heard her embarrassed sounding squeak/huff and she hightailed it out of there. I finished my thing and washed my hands and continued around to face her. They always do. Then,
Lisa
Friends,
keeps
welcome back to the
quiet.
channel. I hope your day's going amazing.
Mm-hmm. There was music in the air, but that's alright. It was one of these nights. What? Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Oh, my. Oh, me, oh, my. She did not respond
Hey
to
there, welcome back to
Joker.
the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. Today, subscribe for more, and we're jumping and bought a house for me and my boyfriend. Charges of child abuse, domestic to work, about leaves. They can be charged for trespassing and breaking and entering if all our furniture yet, and we're still staying elsewhere. On the floor, in the garage, and into his old dirty farm truck. From sidewalks. You pack up and leave now. This is your last. Spoiled, and this dumb B-word wanted it. Just let us live. Cops looked around, and it was obvious to them that entitled dad and his girlfriend had moved. You left, and the move out. We just removed all of our stuff and out here, as it was just pointless. And the cop says, I know the case, I know the law, leave, or, and the dad cuts him off. No, I know my rights, my kids need this house. And the cop says, no, the court hasn't ruled on it yet, we don't have to leave. True, the court hadn't ruled on it yet, but in our state, if a tenant
Is he seriously?
leaves,
This
it's
guy's
not
seriously
the
trying to take on a
it's
cop?
the court order.
What an
And the cop
idiot.
says, I know the case, I know the law, leave, or, and the dad cuts him
Making a
off.
huge mistake.
No, I know my rights, my kids need this house. And the cop says, shut up now. If you say one more word, I can and will arrest you for trespassing and breaking and entering. Get your crap and leave now. Entitled dad is silent for a moment and says, how long do I have? I expected the cop to say an hour, a day, something lenient, even though they had been a-holes and were breaking the law. What he said next was very satisfying. 5 minutes. Get your crap and leave right now. Grounds to have them arrest items either. We are paying out. English is my second language. Think back to the summer of 2018, the year the story occurred. My mom and I were home alone because the rest of our family was either working or at school. We're sitting in our kitchen and chatting a bit. While
Hello, my dear. Why are you ignoring
We can watch her through our
me?
kitchen window that offers the perfect view into our garden. Said garden is quite big. We have a miniature greenhouse, a lot of plants and flowers, fruit trees, etc. And in the far back is a big trampoline, a sandbox, and 2 swings. We live at the main street of our suburb, so a lot of people pass by over the day. Our backyard is not only cut off by a gate, but the garden is also separated from the parking space for our cars through tall bushes. You can barely see the garden outside of the property, and you're only able to see one of the swings at a specific angle. The gate was closed when the story happened. So my mom and I are just talking, when suddenly my dog
Weird,
appears
my
next to me,
dear.
very much frightened. Trying to calm her down, I sit on the floor and cuddle her, wondering what scared her so much that she fled the garden. You have to know, she's very easily scared. She never barks and doesn't attack in situations of danger. She runs. So obviously, something must have happened, and it wasn't the neighbor's cat for sure. While I'm on the floor level, my mom has a perfect view into the garden and suddenly says, what the actual F? I stand up and look outside as well, only to see a woman and her daughter I've never seen before in my life, standing in the middle of our garden. My mom and I decide to confront her, obviously, and go outside, cat for sure. Property. and you're only able to see one of the swings at a specific angle. The gate was closed when the story happened. So my mom and I are just talking, when suddenly my dog appears next to me, very much frightened. Trying to calm her down, I sit on the floor and cuddle her, wondering what scared her so much that she fled the garden. You have to know, she's very easily scared. She never barks and doesn't attack.
When I said I
she's in
hate you,
danger.
Joker, I
She
never ever
runs.
mentioned the word
So
love.
obviously, something must have happened, and it wasn't the neighbor's cat for sure. While I'm on the floor level, my mom has a perfect view into the garden and suddenly says, "What the actual F?" I stand up and look outside as well, only to see a woman and her daughter I've never seen before in my life, standing in the middle of our garden. My mom and I decide to confront her, obviously, and go outside. My sweet pup follows us, ready to protect us, even though she is scared to death. I love her, and I would die for her, not gonna lie. My mom says, "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" My kid just wanted to play, and I need to relax for a bit. This playground is just perfect for her. She sits down on one of our outside stools, and my mom says, "I'm sorry, what? This is private property. My family lives here. This is our private garden. You can't be here." "Don't be silly. This is public space." She literally closed her eyes and faced the sun after that. I'll never forget that. And my mom goes on, "You are literally trespassing. I want you and your daughter to leave right now." Entitled mom opens her eyes again and says, "Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid." And I say, "Okay, miss, we're giving you a minute to collect your kid and leave our garden, or we're calling the cops on you. You're committing a crime.
Stop calling me those
Please get
pet
your
names,
daughter
Joker. It
and leave."
irks me.
What the F? Are you people stupid or something? My daughter just wants to play and she's not breaking anything. I was getting really pissed, miss. We're giving you a minute to collect your garden. You can't be here. Don't be silly. This is public space. She literally closed her eyes and faced the sun after that. I'll never forget that. And my mom goes on, "You are literally trespassing. I want you and your daughter to leave right now." Entitled mom opens her eyes again and says, "Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid." And I say, "Okay, miss, we're giving you a minute to collect your kid and leave our garden.
Yeah, you better
We're
leave.
calling the cops on you. You're committing a crime. Please get your daughter and leave." What the F? Are you people stupid or something? My daughter just wants to play and she's not breaking anything. I was getting really pissed at this point and I said, "Effing leave our garden or I will sue the crap out of you." She had the audacity to roll her eyes at me. My mom and I just look at each other and she takes her phone out to call the police. Karen sees this and suddenly gets up really fast. Okay, we're leaving. Calls for entitled kid. "Effing whores, you stuck up B words." We decide to ignore the swearing and just watch her kid walking over to her with the shovel in her hand. My mom still has the phone in her hand, ready to call. Entitled kid says, "But mommy, I want to play." I know, but those bad people don't want us here. They're really mean to us, so we have to leave. "But mommy." The kid just
That's
cries
my name,
out
Joker,
mommy
Lisa
for a
Napa,
solid
not
minute,
Sweet
while
Cakes.
entitled mom is taking her
Sweet Cakes. I like that.
time getting ready to leave our garden. Now remember that my sweet angel dog was still next to me, scared but ready to protect my butt.
Good dog.
Suddenly, that effing entitled brat just stops crying, looks at my dog, and throws the effing shovel at my dog and actually hits her hard. That thing being made out of metal must have hurt like hell, and my dog cries out in pain. The kid hit her on the head and neck. I pick her up as fast as I can, basically screaming at the kid that she just willingly hurt a living and feeling animal, while my mom doesn't even wait for a second and calls the police. Entitled mom is yelling at us that she and her brat didn't do anything wrong, and that it was our own
Oh, that
fault,
makes me
that
angry.
she wanted to leave, etc., while actually trying to leave. But since there was only one exit out of the
Fucking
garden
horrible
because our high
child.
bushes block the rest, my mom simply blocks it. I'm calling my brother at the same time to come home as soon as possible to go to the vet with our pup. My brother and the police arrive at the same time, and while he takes my
Crying
angel away,
even
I
after
stay
she
with my
hurt the
mom.
dog.
Entitled mom is still yelling, and entitled kid is crying again. Screw that kid, honestly. And entitled mom, being a true Karen, tries to blame us. But since she's obviously not where she's supposed to be, and she's fighting back because she hit one of the cops in the face, she finds herself in cuffs pretty quick. In the end, entitled mom got convicted. Is that the correct term? For trespassing and assault of an officer. But because her little brat attacked my dog, they got away with that. I don't know the medical terms, but my dog's neck was hurt, and she was on medication for some time. But the worst thing is that now she is scared of little brunette girls.
Oh, who
because
can
the brat
blame
looked
the
like
dog
that,
for being
and she avoids
scared?
the garden if someone is playing with the shovels. To this day, I still ask myself, how the heck?
Oh
a
yeah,
person
that
could even
child,
use
I
our
swear to
garden
God,
as a public
if some
playground.
child did that to
You
my
can't
dog,
see it
I
outside the
would
property.
fucking...
So yeah, shout out to the entitled mom and kid that hurt
None
me
of that,
and actually
oh,
did
they're
their
just a
beautiful life.
child kind of
Anyway,
stuff.
Go F yourself.
I would fucking...
Anti-vax mom and dad expose golf tournament children.
Scar them for life with my anger if they did that. Fucking entitled brat. What's next? What? What? People need wheelchairs. What the fuck?
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an absolutely wonderful
What's
day.
wrong,
Today, we're jumping
sweet
into
face?
r/entitled
You
series.
feeling angry?
Entitled parents think getting a black belt in martial arts.
I think I remember this story.
I'm sorry, but too blurry, or you couldn't see the person asked. A bit of backstory. I am the mom of a wonderful 9-year-old son who is dealing with the diagnosis of JIA, or juvenile idiopathic arthritis. It affects his hip joint primarily, meaning during flare-ups, walking long distances is a challenge. For these days, he has a custom manual wheelchair to get around, but he can still get up from the chair and walk short distances, albeit with a permanent limp. We live in a small town and regularly go to a great playground that has lower equipment he can comfortably climb. It all started
Shadow
when he pulled up
Ninja.
to the
Hi,
park in my
Shadow
car and
Ninja.
parked in one of the handicap parking spots.
How you
I do
doing?
drive a
How
smaller
you
car,
doing?
but a hatchback. And my
It's been a
son's chair
while.
folds up quite small, so it works for
How you
us.
doing?
I park, place the handicap placard on my dashboard, and hop out to grab my son's
I
chair
thought
from
that
the
RP
hatch,
story
while my
was
other two
great.
children, a 14-year-old girl and a 5-year-old girl, get out of the car. Entitled mom shows up and says, "You can't park there. That spot is only for people who need it." As I'm opening the hatch, I say, "Oh yes, I'm aware." However, she cuts me off. "You are walking just fine, so move your vehicle or I will talk to the park monitors and tell them." She hesitates as I lift the wheelchair out of the back of my car and put it on the ground. "Yes? You'll tell them what?" I said. "Never mind." She then grabs her kid's hand and pulls them away towards the park. "Mom, I want one," said entitled mom's kid. Yes, foreshadowing, I realize now. So I get my son out of the car, into the chair, wheel him over to the park, and get settled at one of the benches. He decides he would like to get up and use the equipment, so I let him up to play. He is maybe 10 feet from me, max. I notice pretty soon that entitled mom is just a couple benches over, and giving me the stink eye for the next 20 to 25 minutes. I stay with
Groans
the chair
in
and the bench
disgust.
while my son plays with his sisters, who are very protective of him. Entitled mom gets up and starts to approach with her kid. "So your son doesn't really need the chair then?" "Excuse me?" "Well, I saw him get up and walk onto the playground, and he has walked while playing." "Yes, he can walk short distances, but due to some damage to his hip joint, he limps and can only walk short distances." "Well, now that he's playing, my son can use the chair." "I'm afraid not. This is a custom chair made specifically for my son, and I'd rather not chance anything happening to it. Plus, it's not a toy." I notice that entitled kid is walking around the back of my bench towards the chair. He reaches for the chair, and I say, "Excuse me, please don't touch the wheelchair. It isn't yours, and it isn't a toy." "Don't tell my son what to do." "Mommy, I want to ride." The kid starts loudly fake crying and ran to entitled mom and grabbed her legs. "Now look what you've done," said the entitled mom. The entitled mom and kid have created enough of a scene that my children have taken notice, as well as the community monitors who come over to my bench. "Excuse me, what seems to be the issue?" says one of the monitors. "Hello, sorry about all this. My son," I try to say before entitled mom cuts me off. "Excuse me, I'm the one wronged here. They have a fake wheelchair, a fake parking pass, and her kid has a fake disability. My son just wanted to play with the chair, and she snapped at him and made him cry." And I say, "Not a word of that is true. My son has arthritis, can only walk short distances, and of course I don't want you touching a very real and very expensive piece of medical equipment." At this point, we are separated, with entitled mom and one of the monitors going to her bench, and 2 other monitors standing with me. My children start to approach to see what's going on, my oldest daughter helping my son navigate the playground. He gets back to his chair and sits down. "That's a pretty neat chair. Did you pick the color?" said the monitor. "Yup, the seating clinic we got it at. Let me pick which color out of like 15 different ones, since they're showing how fast you can go in the chair, steering around curves, son." "Well, the red looks great. It looks really fast," said the other monitor. "Oh, it is. See?" my son says as he starts wheeling around the
It's
path,
you and
showing how
Harley,
fast he can
Joker.
go in the chair,
No.
steering around curves,
Me
turning
and
around
Harley.
and coming back to us. "Mommy, he's allowed to play with the chair," entitled kid said as he starts fake crying again. "See? Now they're just showing off," said entitled mom. Monitor 2 stays with us. Monitor 3 pulls Monitor 1 aside quickly and talks for 10 to 15 seconds. Monitor 1 approaches us while Monitor 3 remains with entitled mom and kid. We're sorry about this happening. Are you planning on staying at the park for a while longer? Said the monitor. So I asked my son, what do you think, bud? Want to play for a bit longer? I'm good. I just want to go home if that's okay, said my son. He doesn't like negative attention from his chair, so this wasn't a great experience for him. Okay, looks like we'll be heading out shortly here, I said.
Who teaches their children to act in
walk
such
with
a
you to the
way?
parking area to ensure
Want
you have
to
no further
steal a
issues,
wheelchair.
said the monitor. Entitled mom starts sputtering, but it's fake. Entitled kid, realizing the chair is leaving, says, Mommy, you promised. Monitor 1 and 2 did walk us to the parking lot and apologized repeatedly, explaining that entitled mom was being issued a 14-day ban from the playground, as this wasn't the first incident they had with her. As I was packing the kids in the car and putting the chair away, Monitor 3 approached with entitled mom and kid following
Yes, Joker.
closely behind.
No.
Entitled mom with the scowl says, I hope you're happy. Not really. The afternoon was made rather unpleasant, I said. Well, at least tell me where you got the chair so I can get one. Seriously? From the children's hospital, with a prescription. It took 5 months to come in. Well, I'll look around. They must sell them elsewhere. Well, good luck. It was subsidized through the hospital and still cost us over $3,000 because it's not a toy. Entitled mom finally seemed to get it, looking quite shocked when I mentioned the price, and finally went quietly to her car, dragging a whining entitled kid behind her. Thankfully, we have used the playground many times since, and have seen the community monitors who always seem to make a special effort to say hi to my son. But no more entitled mom. Knock on wood. Your sister died? Too bad. I'll just empty the house. This happened 15 years ago. My sister died on the 20th. Cousin driving off with a smug look on her.
Oh, boy. Unsupervised with a freaking gun? Oh. Entitled Karen messes with an angry goat. I think that's one I've already watched. I'll still assume that, Joker.
Hey there, welcome back to the channel, all you gorgeous people. Hope you're having an amazing
She told
day.
her
And
kids
today
to
we're
pee
jumping
in
into
my pool?
r/entitled parent, where a
Fuck.
parent goes onto someone's property to try to take a baby goat, but ends up in a face-off with the angry mama goat instead. Alright guys, subscribe for more and let's get right into it. Entitled mom almost kills her child because she wanted him to ride a ride he wasn't allowed to. Tries to press assault charges against me. When I was 16, I worked at the amusement park in my city.
No, I already watched that one. They didn't listen to foot hikers. Loud, I'm breathing in and I'm not breathing as though you walk my way. Oh my lord, really? Joker X Harley kissy kissy, Lisa laughing.
Hey there, welcome back everyone to r/entitled parents. Today we've got a mother and daughter trying to steal a feral barn cat off someone's property to take home as a pet. Things do not end well for them. And on the
This should be good.
mention of blood, to set the stage for the story, do not touch. So this is a story of Midnight the Barn Cat, the entitled child, and the entitled parent. As a warning, there is mention of blood. To set the stage for the story, I'll describe a bit of the property I grew up on. We rented horse stalls and pasture spots to people who wanted to board their horses with us. We taught lessons and hosted a few events as well on the property. There were a few signs on the property that said, "Never bother the barn cats." To describe most of our barn cats, they are hunters. These are not the friendly house cats I have today. These are feral cats we reached an understanding with. These cats live in the barn, get access to clean water, and can hunt to their heart's content. With the grain silos, the hay barn, and the gardens, we have an abundance of rodents. If one of the cats gets hurt where we could actually get close enough to catch the feline and take it to the vet, we'd get them fixed and vaccinated. In order for the people they lived alongside to get close, these cats had to be knocking on death's door. There were several barn cats that lived on the property, and they all had names and a rank. Birdie was a brown tabby who enjoyed hunting birds more than he liked hunting mice and rats. Fine with us, he kept the pigeons and other annoying birds from nesting in the raft that lived on the property to catch the feline and take it to the vet. Silos, the hay bars. These are not the friendly house cats I have today. These are feral cats we reached an understanding with. These cats live in the barn, get access to clean
Oh,
water,
so they're
and
not
come
pet
to their heart's
cats.
content. With the grain silos, the hay barn, and the gardens, we have an abundance of rodents. If one of the cats gets hurt where we could actually get close enough to catch the feline and take it to the vet, we'd get them fixed and vaccinated. In order for the people they lived alongside to get close, these cats had to be knocking on death's door. There were several barn cats that lived on the property, and they all had names and a rank.
Oh,
Birdie was a brown tabby who enjoyed hunting birds more than he liked hunting mice and rats. Fine with us.
it's
He
pretty
kept the
actually
pigeons
pretty
and
good
other annoying
actually,
birds from
and
nesting in the
keeping
rafters
birds
and
from
taking them to the hay. It
polluting
was
the
a
place and
level 2.
everything.
The ranks went from 1 to 10, and only 2 cats have ever hit rank 10. Midnight and Killer. Midnight is the main focus of the story, so let's get right on into it. She, like many of the barn cats, seemed to appear overnight as a new face in the barn's day-to-day life. People would abandon cats near the property. Some we could rehome, but not Midnight. This was not the type of cat you picked up and hugged. I need to stress that so much. Midnight was beautiful with medium-length black fur and the prettiest blue eyes you can imagine.
I bet she
Again,
is.
this was not a cat able to be held and coddled. When I was around 9 years old, I witnessed one of the new dogs my brother had adopted chase after this cat. Midnight ran, flipped herself onto her back, and then the dog was on her. I ran towards the pair, very worried for Midnight. This was our top hunter for all types of vermin. When I reached the pair, there was blood all over the place, and I thought for sure Midnight was gone. Then she shot out from the other side of the
So the
dog.
cat attacked the dog? Lisa keeps looking at drawings of her and her boyfriend. I could grab one.
Dog bound up to the top of the hay pile and started to lick her foreleg. I looked at the dog again, a large Mastiff Lab mutt who was shaking where he stood. He was completely shredded. Midnight was fine. Well, as many people do, one girl decided to ignore the warnings given verbally and the written signs. She was 13 years old, and she and her mother both boarded their horses with us. She knew better than us because she had taken in a stray kitten, and it was friendly towards her. She knew how to tame Midnight, too. I, a 14-year-old now, tried to repeatedly tell her to not try and pet Midnight. She and her mother repeatedly tried to catch Midnight, to take her home and give her a better place to live, and they repeatedly failed. Until one fateful day that I think Midnight decided enough was enough. She had been chased around by this pair for over 2 weeks, despite the repeated warnings
guess the
from
cats had
myself,
enough.
my brothers, and my Uncle Bobby. They went into the barn to get their water bottles filled for a trail ride, and then we heard a horrible scream, followed by another horrible scream, and then the 2 voices kept screaming. I had dismounted at the first scream and ran into the barn to see what had happened, and found the pair on their knees.
It's their own
Water
fault.
bottles were forgotten, and they were both holding their hands as blood welled out between their fingers. I asked what happened, and the daughter screamed at me that she just tried to pet Midnight. It wasn't anything bad, she just wanted to pet her. Well, I had to deal with the pair and took them to get their hands bandaged. I was curious how bad the cuts were to cause so much blood. After rinsing off their hands under cold water, I got to see why they were crying so hard. On the child's hand, I could see muscle and bone in the middle of her palm. The mother's hand was no better. I cleaned them, disinfected them, and then Uncle Bobby did a basic wrap on both.
God, the cat must have bit hard. No, my dear, I'm not giving it back. Who is this person that you drew?
Drove her daughter off to the ER.
Better not be
after
your
cursing at us
boyfriend.
for having such a cat in the barn. We reviewed the barn tape and saw what happened. The 2 went in to fill up their water bottles and then spotted Midnight stalking a mouse in the straw of a stall. The mother and daughter went into the stall, and the mother closed most of the gate, blocking the rest with her body. She waved her daughter on to go get Midnight, who had turned to look at them.
She
Mouse
told them to
forgot.
go away.
She
The
hissed
cat
at the air and
warned them.
lashed her tail. Usually, if she gets locked in a stall, Midnight will just jump up the back wall and go to the loft to get away. Not this
She had
time.
enough.
The girl did not go slow. She rushed at Midnight to try and pet her, and Midnight curled around her arm for a blurry moment on the video, and then went to the same corner. The mother rushed forward to kick at Midnight, and up her leg Midnight went. She swatted at her, and again, Midnight went for the hand. She swung herself up and then out the stall via the feeder. The mother charged after the cat with her daughter, both running after the cat. I had seen Midnight bait predators before, and that's just what she did here.
Clever
She laid
cat.
back on the hay as they reached for her, and she proceeded to completely shred their hands with steel-sharp claws. The two screamed and fell back, clutching their hands,
It's their own
and had to come
fault.
inside. So now we knew what happened. Uncle Bobby had the sense of mind to copy that part of the video down and wait for the mother to return.
So who cares if it
didn't
is
take
trying to
long.
get it?
She came back the next
No
day
way, my
with a
dear.
hospital visit for her and her daughter, and a threat to put that cat down immediately. I at the time was grooming both their horses, listening in as this woman shouted at Uncle Bobby. Uncle Bobby had ordered me to get their horses looking good and fully ready to go. You have to put that demon down. She did so much damage to my daughter and I. How dare you have
Starring
such a
stupid
wild
fault.
creature around my horses?
It's
all
not the
time?
cat's fault
What
at
if she
all.
attacks the horses? The entitled
She'd
mother
had enough of
shrieked as
them.
she waved her bandaged hand in Uncle Bobby's face. How many times did we tell you and your kid to not try and pet Midnight? We have what you both did on tape. She's a barn cat. She ain't the kind of cat you pick up and cuddle. I've told you that. He said as the woman laughed for some reason. I'm going to sue you for all you're worth. I'll teach you for having such a dangerous cat around. The woman snapped as Uncle Bobby whistled. Oi, bring out Tucker and Barnes. He called back into the barn. I had done what Uncle Bobby asked and put all the things this woman owned on the horses she owned. The saddles, the tack, everything was on the horses. What are you doing with my horses? I didn't give permission for you to exercise them when I'm not here. The woman snapped as I led both the horses out. We aren't exercising them. We're turning them over to you. Your stall rental is over since you decided to sue us. Here, we can't have anything of yours on the property anymore. Uncle Bobby said as calm as he took the leads from me and held them out to the woman. I could see the gears suddenly spinning in this woman's head. A lot of the stall rentals around us were easily double what we charge. Most didn't have access.
You're
to
such a
training
pain
ground for
joker. You're a
free
real
or care
pain
of horse
joker.
included. That meant feeding, watering, cleaning the stalls, riding on the property elsewhere, all cost extra, or you had to come out and do it for your horse every day. Let's be reasonable, Bobby. All you need to do to keep my business is to get rid of that cat. She snapped. Why would I get rid of something that's useful when I could get rid of dead weight? Take your horses, your gear, and get off the property. He said calmly, looking at her with the look the family dubbed the good is dead look. The woman looked back at her car and then at her horses. I can't take them. I don't have any way to get them to somewhere else right now, said the woman. Uncle Bobby just shook his head and told her to figure it out. She tried to attack an animal on the property that she had been told not to mess with, threatened to sue us, and now this was her issue to figure out. She pleaded with Uncle Bobby to let her keep boarding the horses here, explaining they couldn't afford anything else so close to town. Uncle Bobby was firm and cold towards her, not giving a single inch. He explained he couldn't trust her to listen to his word around a cat. How could he trust her around a horse? They went inside the barn office to talk for a while as I waited with the horses. When she came out, she was paying $50 per day that she boarded the horses with us. She needed to find new homes for them ASAP. She was out with a rented trailer the following day and begged my uncle to reconsider. He didn't. 4 months later, my uncle went to the horse auction and came back with 6 new trail horses. Tucker and Barnes were the first 2 he unloaded from the trailer and passed off to me. I never saw that woman again, but occasionally we would find animal traps set up around the property baited with cat food. We'd collect them, donate them to the animal shelter in our area, and after a few years, they stopped showing up. Midnight stayed with us until she went gray in the muzzle. She walked off into the night and we never saw her or found any trace of her.
Aww.
Mother-in-law tried to have me arrested for not asked if we smoked. Inside and locked the door behind me.
No. You think you're just smart, Joker? I don't think you look smart, not at all. brag about, my dear? What's wrong with how I look? Ain't what I wanna do. I think I'm still free. Take a chance on me. Gonna be alright.
Surprise for you, Max.
Mhm.
She pushed her cart aggressively away. I don't know if the woman thought she was quiet enough, and offer him a meal. I ask if he knows of it. It's the Blag first class upgrade. For the upgrade, return to your seat deeply. And if a customer my time at this store, so I know a lot of the employees very well. Would you be upset that someone called your daughter that? A small titled mom wants to sue when her son kills himself on a motorcycle. This story came to me from an old
This
coworker.
is why I don't like
It happened
motorcycles.
around
You look
8
like
years
something the
ago, and it was
Catwoman
my
dragged
at the
in.
time. My coworker, we'll call him Teddy, was an older gentleman who lived in one of the nicer but still not nice parts of the city. A bunch of duplex homes and row homes in a big grid. Late one night, around 1 a.m., there's a hellacious screech, crashing, sounds of breaking glass, more screeching and crashing. By the time Teddy gets out of bed and into a coat, there's only the sound of car alarms and blinking lights continuing down the block, starting with his own car out front of his house. Following the damage, there's a line of debris and honking cars, ending up at the twisted wreck of a motorcycle, and the rider is prone and motionless in the street. Teddy calls 911, and sometime later, the police and paramedics arrive. The motorcycle driver was later...
Mm-hmm. Trespassing kid tried to steal, gets bit by a dog. Treatments. Disturbs grieving family. Ooh.
Give her a refund,
6:01
since
now.
all meals were free
Should
that
be nearly
day,
time
so
to
she hadn't paid to begin
hop
with.
off.
And the woman says she wants a refund on her daughter's dining plan because the food isn't worth eating. Note that there is nowhere else nearby where her daughter can get meals. The nearest restaurants and grocery stores are in the next town over, 15 miles away, and freshmen aren't allowed to have cars on our campus. So if the daughter doesn't have a plan with the dining hall, she's not going to be eating. This woman keeps yelling at the poor cashier, who finally calls her manager, who comes up and says the dining hall itself can't process refunds anyway, and they'd have to talk to campus administration about it. But he reiterated to her that if her daughter didn't have a meal plan, she'd have nowhere to get food. This idiot woman looks at him and says, "Fine, we'll be going over to administration right now," and unenrolling her from adult mom and her kids are waiting in line. I can see that they sit next to the entrance of... Anyway, she gets to the front of the line and tries to sit in her tube to go down the ride. And I say, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, this isn't the correct tube. I radioed to have someone bring the correct tube up for you and your party." Guys, I waited and say again, "Get the F up," throws the tube at my face. It's bulky and not heavy, so I can easily dump her kids to join in. She is pulling out grass and spitting in my general direction. I picked up the tube she threw, and I'm sitting on it on the side of the ride. Her entitled kids, of course, join in, and are spitting in my general direction, and ripping up dirt and plants. I'm 10 feet away, so no spit got near me. And that's how entitled mom and her kids got banned from the park forever. For 10 stairs away from a child. My son rides the bus with a very entitled, unruly girl that lies about everything and bullies people. The bus driver has my son where he can see him to prevent it on the bus. Her mother is just as bad. We do live in a rural area, so the bus stops are spread out. The entitled girl lives far enough away from the bus stop that her mom drives her. So on with the nonsense. We're down at the bus stop in my car because it's raining. Normally we walk, but who wants to go to school soaked? We're passing the time by playing I Spy and games on my phone. Here comes the entitled mom. She spots my car. Her entitled girl gets out and
Thank you.
beelines to my car. The doors are locked. She runs back to her entitled mom's
I guess
car
so.
and loudly
I-
complains that she can't get in.
I guess
No,
we
I am
can.
not
I guess
letting
we
her in
can.
either. I did once,
How
but he
about-
trashed my car and was rude.
How about
So
I?
never again. Entitled mom comes up and says, "So you need to let my
How
daughter
about
in."
I?
No, I don't, I said. Some people
about-
have things to do
how
and
about a
can't sit
mom?
around all day.
How about
says
a
the mom.
mom?
Some people have jobs but still make sure their kids get on the bus. Go away. I reply. Entitled mom starts trying to reach through the cracked window. Open this door right now. My daughter wants to sit in your car. I need my nails done. I can't wait here. Nope, not my kid, not my problem. Just get in your car, it's raining. At this point, I started to close the window, and she jerked her hand back. She did not get in her car, but decided to start hitting mine, screaming about her self-importance, and me needing to understand her daughter is always right. No, I did not call the police. No need. The third kid at our stop is the son of a sheriff. We have a deal. I watch his son in the morning. He gets mine home safe in the afternoon. He pulls up to the entitled mom beating on my car, while the entitled girl is screaming that she's going to die of embarrassment now that people see her mother's car. Entitled mom, why are you beating OP's car? It's raining. Go sit in yours, said the officer. I unlock the doors for the officer's son to get in. Entitled mom says, you see that? She won't let my daughter in, but yet your son didn't even ask, and she let him go in. She's disrespectful of important people's time. And the officer replies, you are responsible for your child, not OP. She can decline access to her vehicle if she wants to. Get in your car or I'm calling my SGT to authorize an impound, because you will go to jail for attempted destruction of OP's car and harassment. Entitled mom sulked back to her car, and the bus pulled up. I took out my big umbrella and got the boys on the bus. Entitled mom drove off before the bus. Doctors shut down entitled mom during an emergency. I'm posting this for a friend of mine. My buddy is a very good surgeon and has dedicated his life to medicine. He frequently goes to hotspots around the world to offer his services. He spent time in Syria, Iraq during the war, Africa, after 9/11 and the Boston bombing. He got in his car and offered his help at hospitals there. He's unmarried, and the only thing he does for himself is he takes 3 or 4 weeks off twice a year, once in July and once in December. He told me he does this so he doesn't lose his mind. On those times, he really lets loose. He'll go on vacation somewhere, maybe take up a hobby, go skydiving, scuba diving, meet women, eat wild food, and at Christmas, he spends time with his brother's family and apparently gives some pretty nice gifts. He's as good of a person as you could ever hope to meet, and an excellent surgeon. Without giving too much away, before COVID, at his hospital, they had a pretty busy day, which at a hospital is never a good thing. He was doing one emergency surgery after another. Everyone was slammed, and more people were waiting for emergency care. One person had already died because of the backlog, and a few more on the operating table. No matter how good the surgeon is, sometimes you simply can't save people. In the midst of all this chaos, entitled mother walks into the ER and begins demanding that someone see her brat kid, who had a bruise on his face because another kid punched him at school, probably for being a brat. The secretary managed to get her to wait in the waiting room, with all the people waiting to see if their loved ones were okay. Her kid went and apparently decided that he was the only one allowed to play with the hospital waiting room toys, and would scream at any other kid who tried to approach. Our hero doctor, meanwhile, is fighting for the life of a 16-year-old who was in a car accident. No idea if it was his fault or not, it didn't matter, and sadly, the kid didn't make it. I always feel this is the worst thing for a surgeon. They try their best, but sometimes it's not good enough. He has to get his own emotions in check before going to face the parents. They have a special room for this in the hospital. It has comfortable furniture and a table that's nailed down. He's in the middle of breaking this awful news to parents who are feeling a pain that words are too cheap to describe, when in bursts Karen. Apparently, she followed the parents as they were escorted to the room. She took a look around and said,
I think I might stop this live stream now, best friend. It's getting close to dinner time.